it'll say you're live, and then it'll go live.
Oh, okay. So there is no moderator. I can just begin.
You can just begin. Yeah, begin right now. I'm watching it right now as we speak.
Okay, excellent.
Hold on, it's loading. Go ahead. Okay.
Okay, so it's live now, right?
We're live. Go.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
So there's no moderator. I can just begin.
Good afternoon. This is Khalil Sheikh from Saxon Global. Today's topic is cloud modernization, why, what, and how. We'll talk about various pitfalls as well as benefits of going to cloud. So without further ado, I'll start. The very first question any organization should be asking that why should they go to the cloud? Is this cost? Is it legacy, data warehouses, databases, portals? What is the main reason? Performance, productivity, quality, sharing platforms with other organizations, partners, suppliers, distributors. Why part is very important. And the second part is like what may be a prescriptive framework for enterprise cloud modernization, right? It's very important that when we are looking at our existing environment, legacy environment, which may have multiple portals, databases of various type, data warehouses, operational data stores, what is our reporting, BI need, whether it's operational, predictive, big data analytics, transactional analytics, what would be the template to take it? Unless we think 360 degree, most of the cloud projects deliver some value, but if there is a roadmap which is not available, how to deliver the optimum value, you will be challenged. And how is very important, right? You know, the third part of it, which is what do we want to answer, right? What is the outcomes that we are seeking out of this platform? What is my sales operation? What is my finance reporting? What is my inventory reporting or product reporting, right? So whatever that how part of it and how do I get it delivered is very important. Today, we use cloud as fairly, we are cross cloud, most organizations using various different clouds, whether they are Azure or Amazon or Google Cloud or IBM or private clouds, right? So there are quite a few choices that is available. We'll talk about all of that as we go forward. Why? What is the reason for cloud adoption? So whether you're trying to build a data management platform where you have multiple data sources available, whether they are transactional, CRM, ERP, or data warehouses that is on-prem, how do I digitize them? What tools do I use? What is my cost of it? So looking at it holistically from a data management and analytics perspective, what infrastructure do I need in order to support that data lake, data warehouse, or for that matter, multiples of choices that is available in the cloud to store the data? How do I do backups and all? What services do I want to run? What integrations that is required? What is my ultimate solution? Either from a BI perspective or if I'm doing application modernization, most of the people who are taking data along, they're also looking for application modernization as part of it as well. So digitizing the data, digitizing the digital platforms, whether they are your e-commerce applications or your transactional applications. Do you want to deliver it as a service model? Do you want to deliver it as a third-party solution, SaaS solution? All has to be looked upon. You may want to think in terms of various different technologies also, right? There are so many choices available when you're doing data engineering versus data warehousing. So you may want to see what kind of resources do you have available in your own organization or your partner organization, and what can you deliver based on based on your internal capacity and competency, as well as taking it forward. So you do want to make sure that there is a good roadmap available for your cloud modernization, whether it's data or application modernization. So you build your pieces like discover and design in such a way, because you have to do reverse engineering. You have a lot of legacy stuff sitting there. How do I take inventory of what is available as part of my application and data platforms? What does it mean? What is being used? You don't want to do lift and shift of your data sets. You want to make sure that what is being used, historical versus current data set, you want to make sure that you have a good inventory and good visibility of it, and it's blueprinted well. So when you get to the migrate and build process, you are not guessing any of the steps. You pretty much know where you're going with it. The outcomes, the BI outcomes, how do you operate and manage once you build this solution in the cloud? So very important that you do some road mapping, some planning, some choices of tools, technologies ahead of time, rather than just picking a cloud and going with it and then finding out midway that it may be doable or not, especially when you're doing a lot of data lake type operations. So you have structured versus unstructured data, and it's coming from multiple sources, coming from multiple acquisitions. They may have the same nomenclature, like your customer data, or product data, or pricing data, or opportunity data. But at the same time, once you started to reconcile all of these different line of businesses, is fairly complex, and you need to think through it, that how you accommodate various line of businesses in one place. So cloud, it's a tough nut to crack, right? It's difficult, right? There are different tools available. Every cloud has options, choices. How do we make sure that what we need with the right price point, we have enough understanding of it, what we are buying? Because like a lot of people go into the cloud and they think, okay, I can take this service or that service. But once it's started to, because it's a pay-as-you-go model, you may incur a lot of costs. And if you don't train your developers and your business consultant, the BI people correctly, you may incur huge cost of delivering the solution. So you need to make sure that, first of all, whatever you are picking up in terms of cloud and the tools, technologies that is going to be associated with it, is a matching solution based on the outcome that you seek out of it, whether these are data outcome or BI outcomes or it's portal outcomes, whatever it is, whether you are building a product or platform, or you're building a data management platform, or you're doing some kind of digitization of your business, you want to make sure that you pick wisely day one. And it's a recurring process. It's not like, you would have all the answers, but you have to do enough work in blueprinting your solution. So a different way to look at the same problem, right? Generally, a lot of organizations, their current state is they have lots of resources in-house behind the firewall. So high upfront cost. They have resources who are tied to those technologies. So if somebody is using, let's take Microsoft Stack as an example, SSIS as an on-prem tool for ETL. Now, if they want to go to cloud and want to pick something like Rivery, they may have a different costing model. They may have different training of their resources. A lot of people get locked into their thinking of on-prem control versus cloud. So how do you train them, mentally prepare them? It's expensive, and to maintain the resources as well as the infrastructure on-prem. It takes a long time to deliver the value, right? It's pretty much in a box, right? But once you get to a cloud, right, your cost reduces as long as you know what you really need versus what is a nice to have, right? You want to have a very good balance between what is really required versus, an optimum environment, and you build upon it. Cloud is very scalable. So you pay as you go. So you only make sure that whatever is required, you do it, right? What you want to make sure that your resources have the right level of certifications, right? Improve it absolutely improve the scale and agility, right? When you go to the cloud, and make sure that you focus on the core business and enable the business based on whatever the data outcomes that they are seeking, BI outcomes, whether they are predictive outcomes. You make sure that you keep an eye on the results of your BI, right? Is it enabling your businesses to make the right level of decision making? So what we call ladder of business intelligence, right? Which is like, you're giving them the right wisdom and intuition to make decisions. Doesn't matter what level they are at. They can be VP of finance or somebody who's doing financial analysis, right? What reporting, dashboarding, KPI, scorecarding needs that they may have. You want to address this as the first level. We talked about why. What do we need to do when we migrate? We need to make sure that there are adoption scenarios. What am I doing, right? If I'm doing migration of the warehouses or data or application or whatever not, what are the different reasons and how do I do the discover and design, right? Make sure that business is aligned with it. You have good understanding of the data and application that goes with it. And ultimately you build a plan, right, from the migration perspective and say, what is going on? What is the reverse engineering that you can do from the legacy data or application perspective? What is the inventory? If you're looking at a data warehouse, how many objects are there? What are the stored procedures? What are the triggers? What are the integration points? What are the objects which are being used versus historically being created? So you want to make sure that you have the ERD diagram, right? So what is the entity relationship between these objects? So you want to make sure that you, in discover and design phase for the migration, you have a good understanding of what is there and what is required to do the cloud modernization. And also when you go to migrate and build, you want to make sure that, are you rehosting, are you replatforming, refactoring? What is the purpose of this migration or modernizing from the new requirement that is coming from the BI group, right? And ultimately, you want to make sure that there is a cloud is about managed services, right? You have to have 24/7 good understanding of what is required, whether from an operation perspective versus, the business value perspective. You want to have a good watch on it, right? So you want to make sure you partnered with somebody who has good understanding of not just underlying infrastructure, but also the applications or data warehouses or data lakes that is running on top of it. So you can quickly adjust to what is required. There is another option, which is SaaSification. So if you have legacy applications and databases that is going with that, right? What do you do with that scenario, right? Do I need to re-architect? Do I need to have a different migration plan, right? Do I want to do lift and shift versus I want to do the modernization of this, which is including re-platforming, re-hosting? Let's say you have some legacy application, right? What is, do I want to use the front end being different? Again, managed services. And same thing goes with when you're working with various different engagement, right? You want to make sure for any cloud modernization, either you have to have an internal team which sort of do advisory on it and they have a good understanding of various cloud options, whether refactoring or rehosting options, good understanding of cloud. For example, if you think in terms of Bravery, a cloud tool that allows you to do ALT, do you have good understanding of it? Do you know that they have so many connectors and all? Whether you use Bravery or Informatica or MuleSoft or Boomi or Talent, and you got to know the good, bad, ugly of all of these different tools, right? And make sure that this is this is done ahead of time. So you have a roadmap that you allow to execute. It may take multiple months, a year, or whatever not, but you're driving towards a value from a day one, right? And if you're selecting a partner from an engagement perspective, you want to make sure that they have an assessment expertise. They are vendor neutral, right? They give you good value for your money and not tied to it. They have cross-cloud expertise, very, very important, right? Because taking one cloud versus the other is an expensive choice, right? You want to make sure that based on your business need, what do you want to do? Enterprise architecture experience with respect to if I'm building a CRM or ERP or e-commerce portal versus I'm doing data warehousing across all of it, right? Do I have enough understanding of the transactional system versus existing operational data stores or data warehouses? And ultimately, how do I platform this in whatever cloud of choice, right? So, and again, you want to make sure that your vendor is cloud agnostic, technology agnostic, whether it's a data management platform technology versus, because you may want to build data science platform on top of your operational data reporting, right? So you want to make sure that they touch everything from data engineering to data warehousing to data lake to MDM solutions, which is master data management, versus they want to do data cleansing, quality checks, building BI on top of it, and even building data science models. So you want to make sure that from a data management perspective, they have good touch point on every single one of the legs, regardless of if you're going to use it or not. The second part, when they are doing migrate and build, you want to make sure that they have automation experience, right? They have certifications around different clouds. They know CI/CD pipelines, right? They know how to do enterprise integrations. Doesn't matter what data sources are there, right? Whether it's application API level integration versus a data integration versus some file integration, right? So it doesn't matter what it is. They really enable you from migrate and build perspective. And at the end of it is all about, can they keep you secure? Do they have 24/7 operations? Can they optimize your costs compared to what you're paying today on-prem legacy systems? So it's a journey, right? Cloud is not something that you can just say, okay, tomorrow I'm going to be in cloud, right? Or 3 months down the, it's an iterative process. You do a good level of inventory of what requires. I have seen multiple data centers which were end of life I've been doing this for 34, 35 years. So data center being end of life and going into public cloud. So rationalization of these applications, right? Building this IT strategy, delivery model, operation model, how I'm going to make sure that once it's in production, it's working 24/7, it's mission critical application, it's end of life applications. You build your data catalogs, your application portfolios, your infrastructure list that has to be retired. What do I do with it after retirement, right? What does cloud offer me, whether it's a relational data service or platform like Synapse and others, right? Which gives you common data model, BI, it gives you AI, Power Automate. So it gives you so many choices, right? Today's cloud is very, very smart, whether you have structured data, unstructured data, a lot of IoT platforms is being inducted there. So what is your runtime environment? So you make sure that once you have rationalization in your application portfolio, whether they are data management related applications versus transactional application, you do good discover and design on those applications. Reverse engineering is very important for your partner or internal team because you build so many capabilities within your platforms. And sometimes, when you start doing reverse engineering and you say, what is available today, more than 30-40% of the activities, whether they ETL scripts, whether they are objects that you have created at some point in time for some reporting and other reasons, they may not be utilized, right? I have seen organizations or one data warehouse where 4,700 tables were there, right? And if you simplify them and modernize it, you can probably fit all of that in a good data warehouse solution in maybe 200, 300 tables. If you start compiling all the inventory and customer data as well as finance data, AR, AP data, product pricing data, right? So once you start simplifying it, it becomes much easier, and you want to make advantage of these kind of cloud capabilities and relational data services capability, which are serverless pretty much, right? And when you migrate and build, it's again not a one-time process. It's you continue to optimize. You take your first shot at it, you move your warehouses and data lakes into the cloud, and you further refine it. So you migrate, you refine, you migrate and refine. And ultimately, at some point in time, when it's at a steady state, you keep on again operating, managing, optimizing, making sure the business value realization continues to occur with respect to your BI platform. Again, it's a little bit more details on the same mindset, right? What goes in, what happens, what comes out, right? So when you are doing your strategy and all, the evaluate part is very important, right? You make a strong business case for cloud adoption, right? What does strong business case for business perspective, like I'm talking about CFO perspective, is the cost has to be reduced, performance has to be optimized, more scale and more availability is there, and you can sustain for the next 3, 5, 7 years on that platform without doing expensive upgrades on your legacy internal skills, as well as infrastructure, as well as everything that is supporting that, right? So there's a lot of distributed cost of ownership today available in the cloud, which may not be available in your existing behind the firewall platform. You also want to make sure that training is done. The training is not just a technical training, right? It's a business training also. You will be delivered, the value would be delivered to you in various different ways across various different roles, right? So this mindset that people, process, technology, what is the outcome of it, right? And continue to revise that cycle is very, very important, that people understand that they tend to make a call to some trouble ticket or case management person and get something done within the firewall. It may be one way of doing it versus having a very agile daily, weekly bills available. Today, in our experience, coming from Saxon background, we do daily bills. Which means that if something is easy enough, we make it available on a daily basis. There are weekly bills, there are bi-weekly bills. So it's a very agile environment. And we all came from those traditional IT background where you make a request and maybe 2, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, something becomes available. So setting up those kind of CI/CD pipelines where as a function, feature, report is available, you just put it through the system and make it available for staging as well as for production, and make it available. So very different level of delivery. GRC constraint, right? What line of business you are in? If you're in healthcare versus finance versus other banking industry and all, what my data constraints may be, right? From compliance perspective, governance perspective. Same thing goes when we go into the assess phase. Application portfolio discovery. What is going to get prioritized? What do I need in order to make sure that this is a right architecture? When I say right architecture, it's very important that we don't build the architecture, nor we build the architecture. We just build the right architecture that is required for today's demand for the dashboards or reports or scorecards. Same thing for storage and network and what is the target state? Very important. What is the existing skills or capability that exists within the organization, or what is required from either cloud team or the partner team, right? What is required? What tools are missing, right? If I'm going to cloud and I'm thinking that I need to have a cloud ELT tool, is really going to fit the scenario, right? Very important that those are things are being discussed day one. Right, and you start doing the POC and blueprinting. Take a small chunk of work, try it out, see how it works, and then enable it in the production ready product. Prepare a backlog, right, for cloud adoption, and iterate, right? It's important that as you do chunks of work, you continue to iterate and proceed accordingly. Planning, very important, right? So once you have the assessment done, then execute that strategy, decide on tools, prepare a project plan with resource loading, making sure it's very agile. Every week you have the weekly build versus daily builds are available. Small fixes go into the daily build. Make sure that arrangement between you and your IT team versus your partner team is there, that make sure that you get what you need, and it's not like a month-long project. Every report, every dashboard should not turn into weekly, monthly projects. Discover and design. This is again refine. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but as you see that we are extremely methodical in it. So what is the acceptable baseline? Make sure that executives are on board with it. Do the actual migration of platforms, whether they are data management platforms or whether analytics platform, whether they are portal platform. Cut over from source to target environment, whatever the target environment happens to be, whether it's Azure, or AWS, or GCP, whatever not. Make sure GRC is implemented, and validate your migrated environment. And post-migration, making sure that you have application portfolio and details and implementation, and making sure there is a environment health report. When I say environment health report, it's like, let's say you have moved all of the legacy data sources and data warehouses, as well as your BI and your ETL tools and everything else. You should have across the board, every touch point that you have moved to the cloud, you have a good environment health report that you can share on a weekly basis, daily basis through a portal, and say, here we are, these are my reds, these are my oranges, these are my greens, right? And spend time accordingly. This is, I'm going to skip this slide, but because I have multiple other slides. But basically, the outcome of manage and optimize is business value realization. So now, as you're optimizing, you're saying, okay, this was my cost before move to the cloud. This was my ETL cost, and this is my cost now. And cost is not around tools only, but resources as well. Once you go cloud, you have distributed resources that can manage your platform, rather than you have a dedicated resource, right? So that is another shift in having behind the firewall environment, on-prem environment. When you go to the cloud, is the skill differs, the cost differs, as well as you have more availability to support your environment, because the same team may be supporting multiple other portfolios for you. So you have a better resource pool available, and of course you can embed your own resource pool into that team as well to do either project management or provide leadership on the business level. So what are the key enablers, which makes a cloud journey successful or a failure? It's absolutely important that there is somebody, a godfather in the executive leadership, who sees it as a value, right? He's aligned with the IT side of the business and say, yeah, this is the right thing. This will reduce my cost. This will give me the performance. This will give me the scale. This would sort of make my business go to the next level, because the same platform can also start giving you predictive analytics, or even build your data science platform where it says, what is my churn? What is my propensity to pay for my customers, right? What are they willing to pay for my product and services? What is the sentiment analytics on top of it, right? So it's important the business leadership is aligned with this journey, and they understand the value, because they don't care about our mumbo and jumbo about technology and how do I do this or do that, right? They want to see, based on it, do I reduce costs? Do I increase my footprint in my marketplace, right? Can I give them that value? So some kind of actionable business intelligence that gives them the state of the business today and tomorrow, if they make right adjustment. cloud first strategy, right? Create the vision, incentivize internal team, because they may have to learn different skills to enable it in the cloud, right? They've been doing local databases for a period of time, whatever their data choices is. So they have experience with it. How do I make sure that we take them along? Standards. What are our standards for going forward, right? From a governance perspective, what is the architecture I'm going to adopt? How do I measure, monitor, and iterate going forward? How do I make, experimentation with cloud successfully, right? Because it's not just one. When I say experimentation, it doesn't mean that you just trial and error. Basically, you are going chunk by chunk, right? And you will get better in terms of your business outcomes or data outcomes or BI outcomes as you start publishing various different value set, right? Who's the core team? What is the expertise? Do they have certification on it? Are they driven by decentralized innovation? From an organizational perspective, new operating models, policies, processes, economics, training, right? And ultimately, adoption roadmap, right? How do we make sure that we keep on iterating, small, iterate, get better, right? And keep on measuring our progress as we go forward. I'll skip through that. That is more details in terms of when we evaluate. I'll skip through that also. I want to go into this slide where you are creating proper rate and pace for cloud adoption. So multiple path, right? When you are doing migration versus cloud native, right? Your speed to delivery is much better, right? When you do lift and shift or retiring, things like that, versus using cloud native products and services, you do a much better job. And basically, you are taking chunks of it and you leveraging cloud native tools as much as possible, versus pick the best as you go forward, right? From wherever it is coming from. I ran out of time. I'm going to show you something very important. Okay, this is important that I want to. Do I have 30 minutes, Eri? Did I exhausted my time? Okay. All right. So this is, very important when you do cloud, right? It's all start from people, whether they are leadership or IT resources or any other platform resources, right? How do you make sure that you bring them along, right? You get their buy-in from it. Then you build their capabilities and skills. You make sure there is enough transparent line of communication where you're going as an organization, right? What is the reference architecture or technology solution? Can I communicate with them, with the people that is available there? Build my data ops, delivery ops model. Make sure that there is a cultural value that is being aligned, and ultimately everybody should be ready for organizational change, because business values change, business aligned objectives, right? Rather than building a technology solution, you are looking to build organizational change, right? As I talked about ladder of business intelligence or actionable BI, it's important that the outcome drives everything else under the plumbing, right? Whether it's data engineering or data warehousing, or for that matter, building transformation layer on top of it. You got to make sure what does organization and leadership needs in order to drive the successful business, right? This will increase efficiencies, do the data democratization and governance all as a strategic principle. A principal approach that we generally do for the data strategy is whether we are doing discovery or data sharing or data quality, data privacy and all, making sure that all of the above, the whole pyramid is being in context when you start doing cloud. If you just say, okay, let's move my one EDW to the cloud, and I'll figure it out as we go forward. That's a cardinal no-no. You may want to think in terms of not just moving the data warehouse from legacy platform to a cloud. You also want to redesign, modernize it. You want to make sure that your existing ETL tool are also redesigned to fit the new data warehouse. What is the reporting and analytics that you're seeking out of that is also very important to figure out. So you want to have a little bit holistic approach towards any of this, and then go from there. It's a continuum, right? It's like a migration to modernization, to advanced analytics, to AI ML, right? It's a journey, right? You move the data, but you don't just lift and shift the data. You make sure that it's modernized. You think of all your current queries that is not being met today, right? How do I build my analytics engine, and ultimately my data science platform, whether it's AI, ML, or NLP, right? Across my customers, my operations, whether it's sales operations, finance operations, or products or employees, and ultimately enable it. So this is where I am. I have skipped through some of it because I think I ran out of time. I just looked at it. I've been given 30 minutes. I'm 6 minutes over. So my apologies. Eri, are you there? Hello?